guys, welcome to another edition of Retro RAW Reviews. This is Ring Post Daily co-host, Awesome One Joey here, and we're going to dive into the 12th episode of Monday Night Raw. So, let's dive right into it. So we start the show off with Money Inc. and the Beverly Brothers backstage. Money Inc. is paying off the Beverly Brothers for info that they learned about the Steiners and their last match on the last episode of Raw. They're sitting there telling them what to watch out for, how to reverse this, what to do, and they're really just strategizing about the Steiner brothers. And I give this an up because it makes the $1 Million Man and the IRS look just smart as they can be, prepping for this match. Maybe the Steiner brothers ain't watching footage. Maybe they're not worried about Money Inc. and trying to get an upper hand on them, But Money Inc. looks smart here, and it played into the heel personas. Money can buy anything, including information on your opponents. Gets enough. So we get on to our first match of the night. Scott Steiner defeats IRS by DQ. Now, I have to give this match an up because, first off, it was a great, decent match to start off the night. It was a 12.5-minute match, back and forth. If I had anything bad to say about it, I'd say the DQ finish, but the match was so good that it really didn't taint it. If anything, it kept both teams looking strong. The Steiner brothers are getting booked better than they have in previous episodes of Raw. The only thing is this was supposed to be a tag team match. It was announced as a tag team match on the last episode of Raw, and I guess it got switched to a one-on-one match instead. I don't know why, but it did. And then the Beverly Brothers, they come out, they're ready to beat down the Steiners, but they have a miscommunication with Money Inc. And before you know it, the Beverly Brothers are turning face, it looks like. So the fact that the Steiners were booked better, both teams looked pretty good in this match, and we got a face turn at the very end of it, gets an up in my book. And then we get on to our second match. Tatanka defeats Skull Von Crush, who would later be known as Vito. Yes, the dress-wearing guy. But this match went on for about 4 minutes, and I give it a down because Tatanka beating him was boring, and Crush's offense looked weak as hell. I mean, when you saw Tatanka lay in the chops, you heard it, right? You heard that skin-on-skin contact. When Crush Von Skull, or Skull Von Crush did this, it looked so weak. I mean, you could tell right then and there his moves didn't hurt. His offense was lame and easy, and it just was not a good match. This is a 4-minute match, and it's 4 minutes of my life that I cannot get back. So I give this match a down. And then our next segment is a WrestleMania report. Now, I know you're expecting Mean Gene to do this, but Sean Mooney stepped in to do this, and he did a decent job. He did a pretty good job, actually, letting you know what happened at Mania and the results, keeping you in the loop if you missed it. It wasn't no Mean Gene Oakland, but Sean Mooney gets an up here for keeping the fans updated about WrestleMania and how everything went and the results and the pageantry and everything. Gets an up in my book. And then we get on to our next segment. Rob Bartlett interviews Luna Vachon and Sensational Sherry. Now, this segment gets an up because it was Luna's Raw debut. And from what I can tell, we ain't seen much of Sensational Sherry on Raw either. So I think it was both of their Monday Night Raw debuts. But, this turns into a brawl. And Sensational Sherry beats the living hell out of Luna Vachon. And then at the commercial break, we're interviewing Sherry. Luna decides to come back out, and she gets the shit kicked out of her again. I mean, This was like pretty much the first women's wrestling that I've seen on Monday Night Raw. And nowadays we're so used to seeing 3 or 4 women matches an episode, but this was the real first women's wrestling moment, I would say, to happen on Monday Night Raw. So it gets an up. And then we get on to our third match. Papa Shango defeats Scott Taylor, who would later be known as Scotty Too Hottie. This match gets a down because first off, it was only 2.5 minutes, and Papa Shango defeating Scott Taylor was one-sided. Taylor got no offense whatsoever, and Shango was obviously winning the match. The fact that Taylor got not a single move in, we all knew Shango was going to win, and it was just one-sided the whole time. 2.5 minutes of TV time, and this is what the best they could figure out for these guys. Gets it down in my book. We could do better, guys. And then we get on to our main event. Friar Ferguson, later to be known as Bastion Booger, defeats jobber Chris Duffy. Now this match gets a down because first off, it was 4 minutes and 20 seconds, and Friar Ferguson, I mean, come on. This was a terrible main event for Monday Night Raw. I don't care what you say, well, about that time or whatever. This match sucked. And Chris Duffy might have been a jobber, might have been a rookie in the WWE, but he had a decent build on him. He looked more of an athlete than Friar Ferguson did here. And just the fact that this match right here got more time than Papa Shango's match, which was awful enough as it is, it gets a down in my book. They could have done better for a main event at Raw, and this sucked. And I sure hope in the upcoming weeks we see a better main event, because if I was in attendance and I saw this match as my main event, I would not just be pissed, but I'd be wanting my money back. And then we get to our final segment. We get a backstage interview with Money Inc. And this gets an up because they're there with their tag titles. They're accepting the Beverly Brothers challenge next week for the titles, I believe. And the Beverly Brothers just come out the door behind them, and they just take it to Money Inc. And we end the show in a brawl on Raw. And this was pretty cool because not only do we have a match set up for the next week, but now we're left on a cliffhanger. We now know that these two teams can't stand each other. They need to get in the ring. They need to handle this rivalry, this feud that's beginning. And the brawl backstage just made this match next week more intense. Something you can't wait to see. And it gets an up in my book. Well, guys, that was another episode of Retro Raw Reviews. Awesome One Joey here, and this was the 12th episode of Monday Night Raw. I hope you guys enjoy these reviews. Go in the comment section and tell me what you dislike and what you did like, what you agree with, what you disagree with. That's what the comment section for is, to let your voices be heard. Don't forget to check out Ring Post Daily Podcast on Facebook. And we'll see you in the next episode of Retro Raw Review.